Hello Internet, so nice to see you. What if I told you that there is one chord that connects smoothly any two major or minor triads or any two seventh chord, regardless how you choose those two chords, if they're in the same key or not, if they are connected in any way or not, there is a chord that you can put in between them that makes the transition between the two of them smooth. And this magic chord, it's always the same chord. Now, before I go ahead, let me issue a warning. This is one of those secrets of music theory that it's incredibly helpful to composers, songwriters, working musicians, but in some musicians, knowing this secret can destroy the sense of wonder that you have when you talk about music theory. Now, personally, I'm fine. My own sense of wonder is fueled by understanding, meaning that if there is a mystery and you explain it to me, for me, this is more wondrous because now I can see all the cogs and the wheels moving, and for me, this is better. My understanding is richer. I have more sense of wonder. But I know that there are some people that prefer to have the mystery. They get much more sense of wonder by keeping things mysterious. So, if this is you, you've been warned, okay? Now, let's take an example. I'm gonna play an A minor chord and an E flat minor chord. Those chords are not in any key together. And yes, if I keep repeating them, before or later you start to hear them together. But what if I want to make the transition less angular and more smooth? Well, I could do something like that. See, by putting an extra chord inside, the transition feels different. Now, I'm not saying that with the chord is better than without. Those are both two legit effects in music. It's just that putting this chord between makes everything sound smoother, and if you're after that, that's what you need to do. Now, I'm going to give the answer away immediately, and then we'll see the details, meaning how to do it. The chord that connects any two chords is, of course, the diminished seventh chord. So now let's see how it works and how to choose the correct diminished chord to put in between any two chords to connect them. Since the diminished seventh chord are symmetric, I'm going to completely ignore the enharmonic notation. So for instance, for me, the C diminished chord, the E flat diminished chord, the G flat diminished chord, and the A diminished chord will all be notated with the notes C, E flat, G flat, A. If you are disturbed because I'm using an A and not a B flat flat when I speak about the C diminished seventh chord, then have a look at the video on the top right. Have fun! Bye-bye, nitpickers! Also, for the reminder of this video, when I say diminish, I mean diminish seventh chords. So there are only three diminished chords. One of them has the notes C, E flat, G flat, and A, and we refer to it as C diminished, E flat diminished, G flat diminished, or A diminished. The next one has the notes C sharp, E, G, B flat. And we can refer to it as C sharp diminished, E diminished, G diminished, B flat diminished. The next one has the notes D, F, A flat, and B, and we refer to it as D diminished, F diminished, A flat diminished, B diminished. Whew! So the only thing we need to do is, when we have two chords, we need to choose one of those three chords to put in between. Now let's relate those three diminished chords to a C major triad. The C major triad has notes C, E, G. If I want to connect the C major triad with the C diminished chord, we see that the root is in common, so if I do a voice leading, the C note will stay still. The E note will go down a half step and the G note will go down a half step. The A note can come either from the G or the C. If now I consider this other diminished chord, the C chord has now two notes in common, so those two notes most likely in a voice leading will stay still, and the C sharp and B flat will come from the C note. Since those chords have notes in common with the C major chord, whenever I move to or from the C major chord into one of those diminished chords, the feeling I have is kind of a sideways motion. There's not any kind of functional resolving of a dissonance going from one to the other. The third diminished chord is different. There are no notes in common between C major and this diminished chord. But this diminished chord, it's very similar to a G7 flat 9. G7 flat 9 will have the notes G, B, D, F, and A flat. So this is a G7 flat 9 without the root. So whenever I play this diminished chord followed by a C major chord, this feels like a 5-to-1 resolution. This doesn't feel anymore like a sideways motion like the previous two. This feels more like an increase and decrease in tension, the diminished chord being more tense and the C major chord being less tense. I can do the exact same consideration for a C minor chord and the results are practically identical. The C minor chord, C flat G, has two notes in common with the first chord, only one note in common with the second. That's quite a weak connection, but it's still good enough. While the third diminished chord, it's similar to its 5 chord. Now, this kind of consideration apply to all major or minor triads. There will always be the case that out of the 3 diminished chord, one of them will have the root in common, one of them will have the fifth in common, and one of them will feel like the fifth of the chord, whatever chord you choose. Seventh chord too work exactly the same. In fact, since seventh chord have 4 notes inside, not just 3, I typically have more notes in common, so the connection is even easier there. Now, this means that there is a smooth voice leading between any chord, major, minor, or seventh, and any of those 3 diminished chords. We can always move the notes just a little amount to go from one to the other. So if I were to exaggerate, I would say to connect any 2 chords, just pick a random diminished chord, any one, slam it in, and you will have a smooth voice leading. Well, sure, you can do that, but you have to see if it sounds the way you want. I found that in general, you cannot just pick a random diminished chord, you have to pick the right one because one of them typically sounds better than the other for the aesthetic purpose you have. For instance, personally, I like a lot functional resolutions. So if I have to connect 2 chords, I typically take the one that resolves on the second chord. So for instance, if I'm going between A minor and F minor, I'm gonna put inside here the diminished chord that functionally resolves to the F. This is always a diminished chord that has one note a half step below the root of the chord. So the root of F minor is F, a half step below it's E, so I'm gonna put here an E diminished chord. Since there is always a smooth voice leading between a minor triad A minor and any diminished chord, I can find a smooth voice leading here, and what I'm gonna do here is that if I spell the E diminished chord as E, G, A sharp, C sharp, I find that the fifth, the E, is in common, the A move up to A sharp, this move up to C sharp, so it's quite smooth. And here's what's happening. Again, I like to put the E diminished because it gives me this sense of resolution into the second chord, and I like this kind of push forward in the song. But if you don't, then you can put one of the other chords and get more of a sideways motion that doesn't really resolve but just slides into the next one. So for instance, I could have A minor, A diminished, F minor. Now this A diminished, if I spell it out as A, C, E flat, F sharp, as we see, has 2 notes in common with the A minor, A and C, and only one note in common with the F minor, which is the C note. So again, I need to be a bit careful with my voice leading, and that's what happens. There is less sense of resolution and forward movement, but it totally works. If you like the sound, that's the diminished chord you choose. Another example with triad, let's go between C and B flat minor. 2 chords that definitely are not in a key together. If I want a forward movement, I'm gonna pick the diminished chord with root a half step below B flat. So the A diminished chord. And again, the A diminished chord has notes A, C, E flat, F sharp, and it has the root in common with the C chord. So I'm gonna make sure that this note stays still. Again, the connection is quite smooth. you can literally justify any movement between any two chords, just sticking a diminished chord in between those. With 7th chord, it's even more fun because, again, you have more notes. Let's say just an example here. Suppose I want to go between E minor 7 to A minor 7. E minor 7 is E, G, B, D. A minor 7 is A, C, E, G. We see that they have two notes in common, G and E. Now I have two options. I can either, again, choose the functional resolution, so I choose a diminished chord with the root a half step below A, which is the 2nd chord, so the G sharp diminish. So I have these. I have E minor 7, G sharp diminish, A minor 7. But here I can do something else. I can notice that E minor 7 and A minor 7 have two notes in common, E and G. And as it happened, there is a diminished chord that has exactly those two notes. And that's the A sharp diminished chord that has notes A sharp, C sharp, E and G. And so I see an interesting thing. The G and E note stay still. The D note in E minor 7 goes down to C sharp, then down to C. And the B note in E minor 7 goes down to A sharp and down to A. Which is actually quite lovely as a sound and used a lot in jazz. Now, like many other things that involve harmony and chords on guitar, the voice leading is paramount. You have to make sure that you lead your voices correctly. And to do that, you need to know your chords in several different positions, and you need to know your fretboard inside out. If you need help with that, I recommend you check out the complete chord mastery course. This is not a book, it's a complete video course, and it's made specifically by guitar players for guitar players to help you really understand your fretboard regarding chords and harmony. I'm gonna be honest immediately with you. This is not a course that you want to take if you just want to read something or see a video and not do anything. You need to see this course with the guitar in your hands, and you need to do all the exercise and try all the examples on your guitar. If you don't do the exercises in this course, you don't learn anything, because I don't believe in abstract music theory. I don't believe in learning something and not applying. I believe that music theory has a practical application for the working musician, whether you're a professional or an amateur. I believe that to really understand music theory, you need to play, and make music. And this course teaches you how to use harmony to actually make music. If you like that idea, the course is for you. If you don't like this idea, this course is not for you. If you want to check out the course, just click on the link on the top right. If you like this video, smash on that like button, don't forget to subscribe and click on notification, otherwise YouTube will never let you know when I put up a new video. And if you have any feedback, suggestions, comments, write them down in the comments. I really love hearing from you, and I make new videos based on what you guys write me. This is Tommaso Zillio of musictheoryforguitar.com, and until next time, enjoy!